Hey everyone, we're here with the Ratitude podcast again. I've got my second guest ever. I did 10 episodes just by myself. I thought that was kind of cool to do. I talked about whatever I wanted to talk about. Now I decided to invite like the coolest people I know in the world. And we've got one of them here today. His name is Tom Challan. I met him in, I think, my second MLM, women's athleisure wear called Savvy. And he and his wife were just killing it. But the most important thing is I made an incredible friendship with Tom, and he's just one of the coolest guys. I'm going to let him talk in a minute, but his story of growing up with all sorts of challenges in life and then overcoming and then becoming like one of the coolest people in the world, I think is super inspiring to me, and I hope it will be to you. So we're going to ask Tom some questions here. We'll start out with, Tom, just tell us a little bit about your background, whatever you feel comfortable telling us about, because, it's a tough and interesting and, to me, super inspiring story. And I'm just so honored and pleased to have you here all the way from San Diego or Puerto Rico or wherever in the world you're living right now. And so just introduce yourself with your upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. Well, I'm honored to be here with you too, buddy. I don't do a lot of podcasts. My wife, and partially it's because a part of our brand is to create wealth as passively and as leveraged as possible. So we could do something that I really love to do, which not a lot of people do, surprisingly, Robert, and that is how to have a life. So That's our whole jam, is how do we keep the same production, the same productivity, the same income, and grow it, scale that income, but do it while leveraging the time so we can actually work less and be more purpose-filled and spend more. The thing that I'm realizing, Robert, the older that I get, is I want to create more experiences with my family and people that I love and do stuff that I'm called to do. So I'm honored to be here with you, though, Robert, because of all the people. I mean, when we launched our company, I know you were a part of that same business that we were with. It was if I could say it nicely, I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but a poop show, right? Everything broke. Everything was challenging, even though we were crushing sales, and it was through the really COVID time. You were literally, I kept looking at you. I'm like, everybody was like really a lot of grumpy people, a lot of grumpy, like, why isn't this working? And you're just like always happy, always smiling, and everybody loves you. It was awesome. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, we were like a few men with a bunch of beautiful women and just having a lot of fun. And I was kind of grumpy. I think I lasted about 6 months before all the issues kind of got to me, and my corporate background really got to me. Because one of the real lesson was I shouldn't have just been that way. I should have just kept going. And the people that we were all with, including your wife, just continued to go and crushed it. So that was a real learning for me in the future whenever I kind of get back into that business model. But tell us about how you started, how little Tom Challan, by the way, I named my son after you.
Oh my God.
How Tom Challan, kind of grew up, because I think it's just a fascinating story.
Well, it's to be honest, I can't even believe where I'm at right now. I literally can get emotional really quick because it's a miracle. It is a miracle, because I grew up, when you have a frame of everything around you being one way, I've realized most humans don't ever break from that movie that they think they're a part of. They don't understand that they don't have to keep playing that generational from their parents and or wherever they got their mindset or their lens from. And from my lens, I was raised with the divorced parents when I was 2 years old, and my dad was a biker. He was like a Hell's Angel kind of a biker. I grew up when he would pick us up on the weekends in bars, and the only thing I saw my dad do was get drunk, or like there was drugs everywhere. There were drugs everywhere growing up. And I think at least once or twice a month out of 3 to 4 times, my dad would hang out with us at the bars, or the toy runs, or they call them the poker runs, or the swap meets, again, with all biker people. And I'm not talking fancy, successful Harley, right, riders like in the movie The Hogs, right? It wasn't like the movie Hogs. It was the real and it wasn't a casual Harley. So the only thing that I had to do to get my dad's attention was we always had to compete with other biker kids, like either fight them or wrestle with them or race them and do all those things. And then when I went back to live with my mom, And I went through high school. I was always the number one wrestler in football and one of the bigger, more muscular guys. But my nickname, and all the kids called me and they would high five me through the hallway. And my nickname was Stupid. And I never got in fights and I never hurt them. And I never tried to was never offended, which is really weird. And the only reason why I wouldn't be offended is because I actually thought it was true. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's like my name's Tom, except my name was Stupid. I just literally thought I was literally the stupidest kid in high school. And it's kind of shocking to even think that or even speak that right now. One, because I make more money than probably most of the people from high school, but more importantly of how I've broken that mindset of that lie. And that's the quick snapshot of the high school. And then I could progress how I got out of that if you want to go deep into that.
I do. And first of all, thank you for sharing that story. I didn't know which part of it because I've heard your different versions of it at different times and whatever you feel comfortable talking about. But I do want to go in that, how you broke through that. Because I know some people that are in that situation right now, right today, that I'm going to have to go and help them and mentor them and elder them and whatever I can do to influence them. And so, what kinds of things did you do? How did this happen?
Well, the biggest blessing of how I was led out of it was Baywatch and Bonanza. Have you ever watched Bonanza, Robert?
I've watched Bonanza, but I've never watched Baywatch.
Are you joking?
Pamela Sue Anderson used to jog on the Pepperdine track when I was coaching there.
Oh my gosh. No, I was back in Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up. So this is all in Cleveland, Ohio, by the way. And then when I turned 18 years old, after watching California and movies and, Baywatch and Bonanza, which were my two opposite, likes, two different type of shows. But I wanted California girls. I was a young 18-year-old guy. Plus I wanted to play football in Riverside, California. And so I packed up a day after high school and drove across with all my belongings to go play football at a community college in Riverside, California.
Really? In Riverside?
Yeah. Have you been there?
Oh, no, but it's so interesting because before we started this, the platform we're on is Riverside, and you thought you were going to have to drive out to Riverside.
Well, that's all I saw. That's my first reaction is, it said local locate. It said local location or something like that. I'm like,
right.
So yeah, it was Riverside, California, and I wasn't that smart when it comes to the geographic, what college might be better, because I had to choose from Orange County or OCC, Orange College, right? Or Orange Coast College or Riverside. I'm like, oh, Riverside sounds so great. People are just hanging out and all these beautiful girls are hanging out by the river. And then I went to OCC College, in Orange County, California, Robert. And I'm like, man, God, you work in mysterious ways because everybody there is beautiful people, right? And Riverside is it's a different.
It's different. That's a good way to put it.
Different than bleach bonds that I thought were in the Baywatch.
Yeah. So what happened?
So when I came to California and then, so I played football and did that. And then it was weird because I was naive enough because I always was super ambitious and I didn't know it, but I would always start businesses. So I had a landscaping business when I was in college. And then I started a recycling company just super naively because we were having a beer party. And the whole football team was having, cans and glasses, and it was all spread throughout the house. So I just started putting recycle bins all throughout our house, and they would put them all in there. We'd have the parties, and then I would start taking them to the recycling yard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I made $50, $40, $30. Recycling was really high back then per pound per aluminum. And I'm like, I can make this a business. So I started the Student Riverside Recycling Program and went door to door in every single home in Riverside, California, because I was in shape. And I just ran from every single door. And then I went to pick up my very first pickup of that recycling route. And I had 6 roommates, and all my roommates were like this behind the scenes when I came in for my first collection, right? My first big collection of Tom's going to become a millionaire. And they were all making fun of me, by the way. They called me the Can Man. That was my new nickname. I shed the stupid thing, which was kind of funny, by the way, just a side note. I'm like, I was kind of shocked as I was starting to make new friends. I'm like, why aren't they calling me stupid? Like, don't they know yet? I was literally that naive back then, but I was super ambitious, started a recycling company. They were making fun of me for calling me the Can Man. And then I came home, my first day was like 86 cents, right?
Oh,
And then the next one was a few $100, then a few thousand. So within a couple months, we were over $1,000 to $2,000 a week at 18. I think I was just turning 19 years old back then.
wow.
And so I had turned into almost a 6-figure business when I was 19 years old. And all my roommates were all putting trailers on their cars and or their Jeeps or their trucks. And then we'd all get U-Haul rental cars because I needed so much help because I got the entire city of Riverside, all that whole area, turned into the first and, of course, biggest recycling company in that area.
Wow. Wow. Very cool. So
And
you went to Riverside. You didn't go to OCC.
I didn't know because and this is what the interesting part of the story, Robert, because so that business was booming, and then at night I would sell LA Times because I started loving making money, and I was still trying to think I was going to go through school, even though I really hated school. So I sold newspapers late night for the LA Times, and I was in low income housing in Temecula, California, which is about 30 minutes or so, I think, from Riverside back then. I was knocking on this low income housing. This woman opens the door, and I started doing my thing. Hey, I'm LA Times, all that kind of thing. And she just looks at me like this. Oh my gosh. You home. She screamed, Earl! She's screaming for her husband in the back, and who's like, and I could see him kind of through the crack of the door when she opened the door. He's sitting there with his beer, big beer gut, watching his Monday Night Football, and his wife's like, "Get your butt up, Earl! Come on out here! You got to see this. This is the most amazing salesperson I've ever met in my entire." And I'm like, "This! Look at this kid! He's amazing!" And of course, they got the newspaper, right? And the reason why that was so profound for me, I've never been recognized in my entire life for doing something special other than winning a wrestling match, scoring a touchdown. Did nothing, no praise, no recognition. So I was like a sponge. I didn't know, a dry sponge for someone seeing me other than, physical attributes back then. And so that moment opened me up, and that was the first person. And of course she had an agenda. It wasn't just that I was that great. She just learned. She was brand new into network marketing, and she's like, "You got to come meet my mentor. You got to come check this thing out." So I drove my Jeep, back to Riverside, California that Thursday, and I got into a financial services team building model with Primerica Financial Services in 1992 or 3 or something like that. And then from that moment, Robert, is where I started listening to Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins. And I went from having extraordinarily low people skills, not even understanding what people, business, or communication was, or leadership was, or positive thinking was, because I was raised in a Hell's Angel biker bar. I was raised thinking that I need to be aggressive or rude, or my dad was rude. He was a jerk. We'd go through the grocery line. The cashier would say, "Do you need a bag?" He's like, "No, I got 2 bags at home," which in the biker world meant women, right? So I was really bad language, really bad mindset. And I was just coming out of that through personal growth.
Wow. That's so great. And okay, all that. And then tell me, because I think it was kind of young, you met Kim, your amazing, beautiful wife, like a Baywatch model kind of girl. How did that happen?
So, gosh, I don't know why that made me emotional. I was just saying that, Robert. So I met her a year or so later, or a few months later, at the Pomona Inn, the Shiloh Inn in Pomona, California. We were at a business meeting for that financial services company, and she was there and in the back. And I'm like, "You should come to my rugby game." Back then I was starting to transition into rugby for a club. And she was the only woman, of course, in that business and in that meeting at that time, single. So I was getting my first ever trophy. It was like this big, like 3 inches high, for doing something. It was so small, but that company was all around pushing up people, praise and recognition. They all had T-shirts, make people feel special. It was a different culture. And I was getting my first recognition actually in business from business people. And all I heard was this girl on the third row go, "Woohoo!" And it just lit me up. Like I was lit up. Like what? And again, that was the second time getting recognized for people actually seeing me in a different light. And so that's where we met. And of course, she was completely uninterested in me. In our faith, we were what's called unequally yoked. She was high with her faith, and I didn't. I was like anti-Christian, hated Christian, made fun of Christians. I was just a jerk, right? Because that's what I thought. Anyways, I grew up that way. Anyway, so fast forward really quickly. It took about we became friends. I learned because of people skills how to be her absolute bestie. Tell me, wait, you went on a date? Wow, tell me, what was that like? How was it? Was it good? What'd you do? Did you like him? You think he's the one? I don't know. So I just became friends with Kim because I just knew that she was the one. And I just knew she was the one. And after reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I had no date shortages but I knew Kim was the one. So I just became her best friend. And then what really rocked me more than anything on this planet is Tom Hopkins. You know Tom Hopkins, Robert?
No.
Tom Hopkins at that time was one of the wealthiest trainers in the world. I think he was one of the OGs with Jim Rohn back in that era, and he was the number one sales trainer in the world. And our company was promoting him. So we went to Camelback Mountain in Arizona, and he said something. He dropped the bomb, and I was ticked. I was really mad. I'm like, because he had a private jet. First time I ever heard of a human, having a private jet. I never even think that was possible. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so interesting that he had a private jet, that he was making millions of dollars. He was the number one sales trainer in the world. One of my mentors at that time, someone I really looked up to from a mentorship perspective. So I go to his event, and then he dropped the bomb on me. He's like, if you want to know my true power and how I've been able to be so successful, come to this optional worship thing. And I'm like, F you, dude. I was so ticked and I was mad because he was bringing in, the Christian thing into business. And I'm like, why do you need that, dude? You're already rich. It just didn't make no sense to me. And then I wasn't going to go, but I was trying to hook up with this girl.
Not Kim?
Yeah, I'll tell you who it was.
Okay.
But because it was interesting. So I went to this. So this girl was going to go, and I'm like, I was trying to hook up with her, so I found out she was going to go to this thing. So I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity to go to the dumb Christian thing, and so I can talk to her and become friends with her, and then go have drinks and hook up with her and do my thing potentially later with that girl, and then so at this this Christian thing, they just talking about Jesus, of course, and becoming a Christian and becoming born again, and I became a Christian at that event. And there's no way my ego
at that event.
That
now, did you feel something? I feel something,
Robert? I got rocked.
You did, but that you felt the Christian thing, not because of the girl. You said, "I'm just going to go do it."
No, wait. Okay. Here's how I know for sure. I know for sure, because there's no way I would have done it to get the girl, because I had to stand up and go. Back then, they want you to go to the front and accept Jesus as your Savior.
Right.
And I'm like, there's no way my ego would have allowed me to get up in front of my peers and do something so weak.
So I'm curious, did you hear something or feel something or sense something, or what was that rock?
It wasn't a physical shaking or something like you hear some people do. For me, it wasn't like that. It's just when I heard the truth, when I heard the word, when I heard the story, how Jesus literally died for my sins, when I heard that all of my shame and all of my ego and all of my pain and all the things I've done right or wrong, or how I think I am as a good person or not, doesn't matter, that he died for your sin. And if you accept him as your Savior, then you go to heaven. And I don't remember anything of the exact words. I know it was around that, but all I knew that there was a God. I just knew that I knew that I knew. I just knew that it was true. I didn't know why. I didn't feel anything weird. I just knew. But I did feel compelled to get up and go to the front of the room. And it wasn't even I blocked out everything around me. I didn't even know I was doing it, because again, if I got into my head about it, my ego might have kicked in and go, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm doing this. Right. I just did it. Right. And that's how I knew for sure that there was a God. And it even got to the point where that girl, I actually kind of weirdly, I did hook up with her. It just took a few years later to finally marry her. And it was Kim, by the way. That's what.
Okay.
It was Kim. And I was trying to hook up with her. This is a little bit, before we became really, really good friends, actually. So I fast forward a little bit further. I don't remember all the timelines. But, and then about 2-3 years later from that moment, because she knew that I was still working out my rough edges as a kind of I don't know what the word is, but just working out my rough edges, that she didn't want to be, yoked with that. And then I finally got to the point where I didn't think I was going to ever marry her. She was just kind of going her own path. And I just started following God with or without her and kind of separated. And then as soon as I completely sold out, like a few years later, I was actually going to seminary school. I thought that was my calling to be a pastor. As soon as I just fully just let go is when we got married 90 days later. For some reason, God brought us together at that time. And then we were married within 90 days.
How long have you been married now?
26 years this month.
One of the things that when I met you and Kim, and I remember it so vividly because, I signed up in this MLM and I was like, 2 or 3 or 4 levels below you. And Matt was there and Cliff was there. And then I was there, I think. And I was living in Malibu at the time, coaching at Pepperdine. And you and Kim drove up from, San Diego, North San Diego County to my place. And when I saw you two, and I seen you on, the training things and stuff, but when you guys came in person, you were so genuine. And the love that the two of you visibly and authentically show each other, it's one of the coolest things. It's one of the things that's really inspired me about life and about relationships and about love. I got to tell you this, Tom, that it is one of the coolest things about you. When I was thinking about who I was going to have for podcast, that scene popped up to me because I just love the way you love Kim. I don't know how it was going to come out in this podcast other than, it's kind of weird. When I started my hypnotherapy work, I started because I wanted to hypnotize my athletes at Pepperdine to run faster. And then it turned out that the athletic director and the university didn't want me doing that, but I had become a hypnotherapist. And I thought I was going to be the hypnotherapist to all the athletes, the runners, Olympians, professional people, because I'm so into sport. And like Tony Robbins says, when you go to a live event, why you're here is never why you're here. You figure it out along the way. And I started doing hypnotherapy all over the world because when I became certified was when COVID hit. We had to go to Zoom, and I found that I could hypnotize people on Zoom all over the world. Even hypnotizing a dog in Australia wants to stop barking. But 75-80% of my clients became relationship clients. And as I was talking to them, I'd always ask the question, how many couples do you know that have amazing relationships, the kind that you want, that you talk about, that you desire? And, it was like 0 or 1. And I would always share the story about you and Kim and how magical it was and how it gave me sort of a model for that it is possible. And I've seen it because I know these people and they're real and they're authentic. And I thank you for that.
Well, I'll just say, if you knew me like depth, and I can go into more deep, it makes no sense, to be honest. I was raised.
But it does. Yeah. Because of the things that everything that we've done, that you've done, anyone has done, makes us the people we are today, right? Mm-hmm. And if those things didn't happen, you wouldn't be Tom Challan, the Tom Challan that you are today. Everything had to happen exactly the way it happened for you to be you.
100%.
And we could look back on it. We could look back with regret or sadness or whatever. But what about if we were able to actually look back on it and be thankful for it? That's a huge part of the personal development world, is to actually recognize that, right? I'm sure you've learned that. You probably teach it.
Yeah. 100%.
And then along the way, you had a few girls, didn't you?
Yeah. We had, really, my wife it was April Fool's, and my wife did her pregnancy test on April Fool's because we thought she was pregnant because she was late. And, and then she actually showed me her thing, and she was pregnant, and I got really teary eyed, and I felt what it felt like to be a dad for the very first time. But then I found out it was fake. She was pranking me. Her friend was pregnant and gave her the thingy.
And wow.
Back then we didn't know how damaging birth control was, hormonal, like a change. It's so bad. Go research that, by the way. So I chased her around the house, and she was running, protecting her birth control pills because I knew what it felt like to be a dad, and I wanted to be a dad now. It was time, even though we weren't
Oh,
ready
wow.
financially. So I chased around the house, grabbed the birth control, found him, threw him in the toilet. And then from that moment, within under 3.5 years, right, we had 4 babies.
Wow.
So we had 4
I
girls.
haven't heard that story before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I always
But
pranked her and she got me back.
and one of the things that you do, I follow you on TikTok and Instagram and all the place. You're always pranking everyone, whether it's dropping bombs of water on them or whatever. So
Yeah.
that certainly wasn't how it started, was it? But that's a good one. I'm gonna have to remember that from her.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother story about the social, but yeah. And then, so what's crazy about that now, Robert, is we were at the beach yesterday when I remember them playing around when they were all under 4 years old. And now within the last year and a half, three of them are now married to the most amazing Christian, on fire men, strong men that it's just, so now I went from 4 daughters I'm a dad, right? Never thought, to having three sons now. It's really, really,
Yeah,
really fun.
expanding family. So where do you live now? Or is it Puerto Rico or is it San Diego or someplace in between?
So funny. We're either going to jump on a plane tonight or tomorrow and go back to Puerto Rico for a couple months. So
Okay.
we're Puerto Ricans. We live in Puerto Rico. We got a Puerto Rican residency now, and and then we're back and forth. So we travel the country a few months a year,
Yep.
and then or the world, and then we're in San Diego visiting the kids once in a while.
Okay, so for some of a lot of my friends are all moving to Puerto Rico for the tax benefits. Do you want to just quickly take a little side and just tell our audience here, because some people might not have known about this or heard about this,
Yeah,
because they
I
might
mean,
investigate. What's the advantage, or why did you do this?
yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. Number one is taxes. 4% flat rate taxes. A lot of people are building up companies and they want to sell a company. They can live in Puerto Rico because there's no capital gains tax, and of course, tax your tax person. But it's the most leveraging tax place for Americans without having to go around the world and do. There's a lot of other creative things you can do, but this is one of the most simple things you could do in America because it's still an American territory or whatever they call it, but not a state, but still in a part of America. So you pay 4%. And the people there that are like mega wealthy, like have humongous companies, like the crazy part about it, and this is the second benefit, you go to like, if I ever want a mastermind, I don't really have to pay for that many masterminds anymore, Robert. I just go to the coffee shop or I'll go to the
Mm,
restaurant because it's kind of part of a Ritz-Carlton community. And
yep.
every time I'm in having just dinner, and it's a little bit more expensive, so you're going to pay a little bit more, but you get to meet, like I saw Brock Lesnar the other day. I was going around the corner, going to the beach to go swimming. There was Ricky Martin surfing, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. And I just found out that I don't know who he is, but someone named Bad Bunny. Like there's all these entrepreneurs and entertainers and social media leaders that are all coming there for taxes. It's like living in paradise. It's one of the most beautiful places in this specific community called Dorado Beach. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live, and you feel like you're living in Jurassic Park meets Disney World meets a business mastermind. And all we do is drive around in our golf carts. I love not having to drive cars in the community, so we just go to the restaurants, like 4 really awesome restaurants. Got everything you need, all in this little, we call it a bubble. In this little bubble. So it's friends, lifestyle. And what's crazy is you can work. It feels like you could work harder, more, but actually play more. So you actually get, because you don't have to be in the minutia of driving 20 minutes to go to the coffee shop, or 10 minutes in traffic lights here in Southern California, wherever you live. So you feels like you have better quality of life, but there are downsides. You got to pay the mosquito tax. There's some
How
other,
long do you have to live there?
so you live there technically 5 months, plus you can be international for one of those months. So 6, or you can be there for 6 months, but you don't want to play
Okay.
around with being right at the border. You really need to be a resident, but technically
Yeah.
it's about 6 months.
Okay. All right. So if any of our audience is interested in that for the reasons Tom suggested, just look it up, do some research on it, because that'd be kind of a cool thing
Yeah,
to do.
it's called Act 60, I believe. There's a couple of them, but one of them is called Act 60, and that'll help
Uh-huh.
you get down the road on YouTube or wherever.
Okay, cool. And so, Tom, what are you up to nowadays? Because it's been a little while since we have spoken. What's in the Tom Challan world right now, other than family, but kind of business wise or coaching
Yeah,
wise, or what's passionate for you right now?
good question. Thanks, buddy. So we're launching something called Priority Living, and it's not up yet, depending on when you launch this podcast. But priorityliving.com will be it's a publishing platform that shows people how to create wealth, scalable, residual, leveraging wealth while having a life. Because I lived with striving and burnout for so long, and I want to create a culture where they get content like from people like you, world changers, that can show people how to shortcut the learning curve when it comes to business, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to relationships and marriage, raising kids. And we're creating an educational platform with the best of the world in areas of faith, family, health, wealth, experiences, and other areas. So I've been going just on a hunt for the best of the best when it comes to creating wealth and income streams and how to scale a company and finding the right partners. And we're creating a really simple educational platform. And one of the things that inspired me to do this the most is having 4 older daughters now that are like wondering what to do in life. They decided not to take the college path. They wanted to take more of the go where you want to go, learn from the best in your field, and just mentor with them, intern with them, grow with them. So I want to create a platform for my kids and their new sons.
Mhm.
I'm really good at starting businesses, and I want to have a platform where they can learn how to grow incomes really fast and have more time with their babies and their
Yeah.
family and their spouses and travel the world or do whatever they want to do from a purpose perspective.
Now, are they having babies already?
No, but they're not using, any hormone protection, right? So
Okay.
they're getting creative with my mom asks them all the time. So I'm predicting with at least 2 of them that are not really that most likely within the first year I'm guessing that someone's gonna.
So you're going to be a granddad? Can you believe that?
So weird. So weird.
Now, you've even shown this, displayed this, which I think is really kind of cool. Yeah, you're an emotional man, even though you're this big stud football, wrestling kind of guy. We've run together before, but you have this emotional side to you. A grandbaby, what's that going to do
I
for
don't
you?
know. To be honest, I have no clue.
Yeah,
I just know that it's going to be because I wasn't a great, I did my best as a dad. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to talk down on it, but man, the second round, Robert, to learn what it's like to speak with no criticism, not just like I did with my kids more times than I want to
yeah,
admit right now. Got angry
yeah.
more time, bringing back my old self a lot. My old self always came back and still does. Kim and I don't have
Mm,
perfect marriages, by the way, which we don't have time to talk about. We've struggled. We've got counseling. We've worked through stuff. And now we get I feel like I got a second round with my marriage to love her
yep,
the way that I can fully and not
yep,
just partially sometimes. And the same thing
yeah.
with the next round of now my kids, of course, still, and then the grandkids, a whole new perspective is my new word, Robert. If you come from a place of not having wild success in every area of your life or having success, maybe you have a lot of money right now, but you're out of shape. Or maybe you're in freaking amazing shape, but you're broke and you're struggling financially or you can't take it or maybe you're making a good enough money, but if your family or your mom or someone you love got cancer and they need $1 million, you're not able to help them out, or can you help them out? So I find that a lot of people, and that's why priorities are so important to Kim and I, and it's not perfect balance. I'm not perfectly balanced with everything. The thing I'm learning is the more that you shed your blind spots in certain areas. And I know it's easier said than done because most people are walking around with an ego they think they don't have, comfort zone they think they don't have, critical that they think they're not, or they think they're okay. Like there's perspectives of who you are that you could be 10 times better, 10 times more loving, 10 times more. And I don't know what it is for you. But the thing that I'm becoming addicted to at my older age now, I'm 51 years old. The thing I'm becoming addicted to is I don't know, Robert. When I'm being mentored by someone, and I still I'm friends with Shanna Sumner. She's one of the strongest up and coming businesswomen on the planet. She does huge seminars. We're really good friends. We live with them in Puerto Rico. But even her, I love you, Shanna. If you ever listen to this podcast, like she's a strong girl, and she like ticks me off at times. Like I don't believe in that perspective. But I just learned to just listen and not get them when someone's coming at me or someone's giving me coaching advice or someone's trying to help me or someone's trying to hurt me. I'm learning to do something that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. Just take feedback and try to be as neutral as possible
Mm,
and not get offended. I'm reading this book called The Bait of Satan. And the whole thing is if you get offended, the person that's offending you, whether they're right and or wrong, they're the one that has your power. You've given it to them. And I'm
yeah.
tired of my wife getting in fights where I get mad or offended by stupid things. Kids offend me. My partners offended me. Our last, our business partners that we work in the company, like, why do they keep doing this, Robert?
Hmm.
I can't make change as a leader unless I become more neutral and align with, even if they're wrong, I got to figure out a way to love people through situations and then allow my leadership to work through it to make the culture better, my marriage better, the team better. And this is something that's made no sense to me even 6 months ago, to be honest. I was running on still thinking I'm a great leader, still thinking I'm like, I got it all. I know enough in life to not have to grow that much more anymore. Just stupid. So I'm addicted to, what do I not know? And how do I get my blind spots eradicated as much as possible so I can reach the true calling of where we're supposed to go?
Yeah, that is so cool. Things show up in our life at the right time, don't they? I mean, like it's almost like we're guided to a path. And, sometimes we see the path and sometimes we don't. As we mature and we get into the personal development world, we start to see the path a little bit clearer. And I think that's what I see in you, is that it just becomes, I don't know how it does it, but it just becomes clearer, the path. And for our audience out there, you just have to trust and believe that it's going to become clear for you. It doesn't matter where you are on the path, because my path is different. Tom's path is different. Everyone's different path, and we're just all on this path. As long as you're on the path, as long as you have sort of that growth mindset rather than fixed mindset, people come to me sometimes with fixed mindsets, and I go, first thing we got to do is you got to shift to a growth mindset. But that's a difficult thing to do for someone with a fixed mindset. It's hard to work with that particular person until the pain becomes great enough, right?
Yep. That's exactly
Yeah.
it.
It's almost that the pain has to become great enough that you go, something's got to change here. And I think it's me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm becoming addicted to hard, which is normally hard would give me anxiety. Normally hard would put me back into depression or stress or fear or resentment towards whatever's trying to inflict hard on me, like a past business partner or whatever that may be, or in our current company. And it's just, I'm learning that the hard is the most important part of life, like the hard business relationship, the hard challenge, the hard situation, the health. I'm dealing with health stuff. I can't even run with you right now, Robert. I was in Costa Rica and I got a little pinched nerve, a little tiny pinched nerve, and my legs are numb. Can't run, can't ride a bike. So I'm working through that adversity, but I know it's going to make me stronger as I heal from that whatever this is.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Tom, because all my life I have chosen the hard path. And I
Mm.
thought that that was a good thing to do. And I sort of even defined myself that way. I went to University of Colorado, my undergraduate, and I picked chemical engineering because I walked over to the engineering building. I had no interest whatsoever. And they asked me which discipline I might want to try. And I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. And I said, what's the hardest? And they said, chemical. I said, okay, sign me up. That's how I became a chemical
Oh my
engineer.
gosh, Robert.
And the thing that I'm learning over this past year is actually that's not a good thing to do. I'm now, my mentor has become Abraham Hicks, and they say, take the path of ease, of flow, of not hard, the opposite of hard. And that's where my challenge is now, because I've been defined by, I got to go hard. I want to do the hardest thing there is. I got to go take Pepperdine University track team with no scholarships, no money, and build it into a national championship. Like, why did I do that? Why did I pick that?
Yes.
And I keep doing that over and over again. And finally, someone's going to slap me over the face and say, why don't you pick easy? And it really kind of like goes, maybe I should consider that. Maybe
Oh,
someone else is right. Just like you were saying, Tom, we might not know all the answers all the time.
yeah.
And maybe it takes a level of maturity like you and I are kind of approaching, because neither one of us is that mature, to start listening to other people and going like, maybe I'll try that in my personal development journey.
So good, Robert. I get that. And let me be clear about priority living and our purpose and what I always want to go with flow and easy. Like if I'm going into a business relationship, I'm trying to partner with someone that is going to give me that flow and they're going to leverage my weakness. And so we can work together and be in a great relationship. But then I find that partner there might be a hard aspect that I have to work through with that simple flow that I signed up for, I thought, but it became hard when the relationship. And that's the hard is what I'm not. I used to hit the eject button on humans because it was hard, because they're not seeing it my way and I'm offended, or they're doing it wrong, or I'm not ejecting the relationship or the business because there's a learning I have to work through the thing that broke, either the relationship or the software or the technology. And I'm going to work through that to make it simpler. But the hard is what makes us strong. Like the last 4 years, you kind of know what was going on with our company. It's actually helped refine my leadership more than ever. Like, I appreciate what you said to me when we were in Laguna Beach. I don't even recognize that human anymore. I wish I can go back and love your people, your team, your clients. Who knows, you might be here. If I'm the human in leadership I'm now, it might have been a whole different situation over the last 4 years. And we've done over 100 million in sales in just a short period of time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So Tom, again, we're talking about the future. What's your website called, or what's your business called?
It will be, depending on when you, PriorityLiving.com.
PriorityLiving.com. And what kind of person should go there?
Someone who wants to scale wherever you're at in your faith. If you think you're a 9, you want to be a 10. If your family, your relationship with your wife, if you want to go higher in any relationship with your kids, your grandkids. So it's all around, how do you go into that flow statement? How do you elevate to being a 10 out of 10 as much as you can in your faith, family, health, wealth, more experiences, more leverage, and grow from some of the top, what we call them, priority warriors in the world. We're going to bring in some of the top speakers, trainers, authors, coaches online. And then we're going to be doing experiences around the world. We're going to create really fun, unique experiences around the world. So here's what I'll tell people in the short. My name, just if anybody wants to learn more about what I'm sharing, or you want to connect anyways, just say hi. Just message me. Go on any platform except for LinkedIn, maybe. I don't check that very often. Or X. I'm on both Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, of all things. And just message me and just let me know a little bit about you if you're listening to this podcast right now. And if you want to get in my free community, I'm starting a free movement called Priority Warriors. If you want to be a part of that free movement, just check it out, be a fly on the wall and join the fun. And just message me and say Priority Living or Priority or something like that. And I'll add you to that community if you want to be in there.
Add me to that community.
All right.
I want to be part of it. I want to go to wherever you are. You know, I like to travel and have experiential travel. So anywhere you're going, just let me know, and I'll try to make it work for me. Tom, it has been such a pleasure this morning coming on here and sharing your knowledge and sharing part of your story and inspiring just millions of people. And I'm indebted to you. I love you. And say hi to Kim for me, and just continue to be the amazing Tom Challan you are, the person that I named my son after.
Yeah, all right. Well, I love you, Robert, and I'm honored to be here with you. And I appreciate you so much. I know you're going to you already have made a big impact in the world, and like you have with Kim and I. And I know it's just the beginning of the beginning for where you're going. So I'm happy to be on this journey with you, brother.
Live with gratitude.